So welcome everybody to AEVA's my name's John Eddershank. I'm the AEVA Chair for Tasmania and the Tasmanian Director on the AEVA National Board. And Chris, Secretary. Would somebody, when I start the Zoom recording going?
It's being started.
Being
But I
started.
didn't do it, so unless you did it sneakily, because I don't know.
Be aware it's all being recorded. If anybody doesn't want to, if anybody says anything and they don't want it in there, let me know because I can take it out.
This would be a true record of the meeting.
Apologies, I think we've got.
So, Mikey Harris, Nathan Burke, if he isn't here, so Nathan and Clive Atwater.
Did I move for confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting? Somebody that's read them? Charles?
It's written, you said, sorry. No, it's okay, I'll agree.
Charles, John, seconded, I think.
That was John Fast.
I don't think there was any business arising from the minutes.
Something from me. Anybody else?
Correspondence.
So I had nothing when I looked through it yesterday that was particularly interesting.
From me, I suppose, including text messages and the like, I suppose, are included in correspondence. So yeah, I've had a number of conversations, I guess, with different people in trying to corral the troops for the national conference and expo that will be held at Princess Wharf #1, November 1st to 3rd this year. So we'll be holding the national conference and then following up by an exhibition on the Saturday and Sunday. So and we're expecting up to about 10,000 visitors, I guess, to that event. So it'll be one of the largest event that AEVA has probably ever hosted in Tasmania. And following in the footsteps of the Perth event, which happened in November recently, we want to, I guess, build on the success of that event, which was attended by myself, Charles, Clive, any other, and John Harris, I guess, with the Tasmanian contingent at that event. Very successful from my perspective. The conference itself attracted a really broad audience of enthusiasts to electrify everything. And the exhibition was also a huge success, attracting, I think, about 7,500 visitors overall. And financially, I guess for AEVA, a major success as well. We look like we'll land at about $70,000 to $80,000 profit out of that event, which is a significant injection, I guess, to our overall funding. And for those that don't know, there is a separate committee running under the AEVA TAS committee, I guess, to organise the event. If anyone wants to participate in that organising committee, we welcome their contribution. So yeah, just approach Christopher and I and have a chat and let us know your level of interest and how you might want to contribute. I have had some specific correspondence with Lions Club in Kingston. And we're looking to collaborate with them to get some support for the event as well as some labouring volunteers on the day. Particularly to support Christopher's passion of the Glenorchy Challenge, which will be an event which you can probably describe a lot better.
So yes, so we've got 4 events planned. So there's the national conference on the Friday. And so
we're lab lecture sort of format, I guess, speakers, etc.
And we're particularly looking for people right now who would be like to be involved in organising that. So we've got an event management company doing it all. But something that we will be particularly good at is finding the speakers or sort of figuring out who we could have as speakers and what topics they might want to talk on, and working out. We then give that to the event management company and they will work out when it happens and which room and all that kind of stuff. But it'd be great to get somebody in who was enthusiastic, go and sort of follow up on leads and find speakers and things like that. That's where we're at the moment. We'd like to get some topics and an overall conference theme and name by March, because we're going to do a launch of this whole thing in March. March 20th at the moment is our idea to launch. And then the expo will want volunteers, but closer to the event. Something like the Lions might do is tidying up and putting things out and in and all that kind of stuff, and helping the exhibitors come in and out. And then the Glenorchy Challenge is an efficiency event where we have a whole heap of cars charged up at the expo. They drive to a point, top of Mount Wellington, and come back again. And then we fill them all back up again and see how much electricity they've used. And the person who's used the least electricity wins the challenge. And so that's hopefully tied in with the expo to sort of help the expo out. And the expo advertises the challenge. And then also we have a ticketed event while we're charging up. Because if you charge them all at the same rate, the first one full wins. So you've got a bit of a race there at the end, but we're all standing around having our cocktails while we're doing that race at the end, and hopefully being entertained by some entertaining speaker that we have.
And to the speaker end, I guess, yeah, we're obviously interested in a broad range of speakers, but I've been doing some networking to try and attract Sol Griffiths to be our keynote speaker at the event. For those that are aware of Sol's work, he wrote Electrify America. He was part of Obama's team of advisors on electrifying America. And then he, as a passionate Australian, he returned to Australia and then wrote Electrify Australia, and has been a passionate advocate, I guess, of the electrification of vehicles and everything.
Just to make it more confusing, we'll have speakers at the conference and then we'll have speakers at the expo. Speakers at the conference will be sort of industry experts, technical people, nerds. Speakers at the expo will be talking to everybody. So the expo is not just electric vehicles, it's also electricity and efficiency. So think solar panels, batteries, thermal insulations, heat pump, hot water systems, all that kind of stuff, to have a really broad audience of every mum and dad in Tasmania. And so we'll have a stage at the expo where we'll have things like My First EV, home batteries, what are they? Very simple things like that. So somebody can come along and see a simple talk and then go and talk to the exhibitors, where they'll find people who can sell them a home battery or sell them their solar panels.
Excellent.
If you'd like to be involved, let us know.
Yeah, and any questions on any of that, have a chat to us afterwards when we're having some tea and bickies, etc. So on to the Treasurer's report. Should I see your
I have a treasurer's report from Nathan, who couldn't make it still. That's it there. So Nathan's our new treasurer. This is his first report.
So the primary expenditure this month was reimbursement for the Perth conference. We got some, the Perth conference was sort of financially contributed to, I guess, by, I can't pronounce them, but the Norwegian AEVA Association. I won't try and pronounce their name, I would totally bastardize it. But as a component of that, the Tasmanian branch received $2,000 of funding to contribute to attendees travelling to Perth. So previous meetings, those invites have gone out, I guess, and people have been invited to participate in that. And Charles, myself and Clive benefited from that a little, although I think all of our expenses way exceeded the reimbursement. We had income primarily from the Hobart show. I think that's the tail end of the Hobart show coming in. Reflecting that closing balance of 22.5. Nationally, we're moving to the Bendigo Bank. AEVA was incorporated last year. We have lots of ASIC obligations and GST reporting obligations, etc., that we didn't previously have. So our National Treasurer is trying to make his job easier and consolidate to one bank, so we have visibility at that national level. So Nathan's been doing some great work to achieve that. And I think we're in the final throes of just validating identities of Christopher and myself, and then we should be that move will be complete. Probably about it, isn't it?
Yeah, so he did point out here that we opened it with the Deloraine branch,
because in Bendigo Bank you have normal branches and community, what do they call it? Community bank branches, and a community bank branch puts stuff into their local community and a normal branch doesn't. And as a organisation, it doesn't really matter where our branch is, so somebody suggested last meeting that we should use Deloraine, and so we have.
Hi, Shane wants to speak.
That's right, Shane, that's him.
Yep. With your community bank, which I suggested, you have your normal transaction account, check account, which gets no interest, but they have an online save account, which currently gets around 3.75% interest. So having the two accounts might help us a little.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you. So that needs to be moved. So can I move to accept the Treasurer's report? So I've got Ray.
So is Ray a second, or is Ray, or are you the? Can you do it? No, so Ray's first. Who's the second?
Seconder. Yeah.
Who's this?
Blue Dawn,
This is John.
Blue Dawn.
Aha, yes.
So an update on news. Am I throwing for you, Charles?
oh, and you want to? Charles has some slides.
Before the slides come up, I think that I didn't remember to include, there's a few models of new EVs that have been have started deliveries in the last couple of months. One of them is the refreshed Hyundai Kona, which Mikey, who's often here, he's just received his. I believe John has one on order.
We'll be on loan very soon. Yes.
We'll see.
Very soon.
Yeah. There was also the refreshed Tesla Model 3, which was launched in December at the showroom here in Hobart. Well, it was launched nationally, but there was an event at the showroom here in Hobart, and that will start deliveries this week, I think, nationally, for those who ordered one of them. And I think BYD Dolphin might be new since the last meeting. Does that sound familiar?
Yes. And the steel.
Oh, and the steel, that's right.
Would you like to come and stand up here nearer to the
I can
microphone?
do that. Please, so everyone, turn around to Sarah. And the rest of it I can read off the screen.
Yes.
So a couple of bits of local news. In early January, the state government announced that the Energy Saver Loan Scheme, which is previously existed for things like home solar and batteries and so on, has been extended to EV charging. So people can apply to get an interest-free loan for an EV charger for home. There's a few restrictions there. It doesn't cover DC fast chargers. It does include small businesses and community organisations. So I don't know if someone might know a group that could benefit from having an EV charger at their site that people could use possibly. But I think the primary intention is for home charging. I think the limit was up to $10,000, which is a fairly expensive home charger, but I think if you need to upgrade to 3-phase power or something like that, that can be included in it. So there are links on the state government RecFit site RECFIT slide. Let's go forward to the next one. So that Aurora has announced if you use the Aurora Plus app to manage your energy usage, they have a feature called Power Hours now. They're running their first one at the end of this week. They let you choose a time slot for 3 hours where you get free power. So you can basically you have to schedule it in advance. So there's an example there from my phone app where I've booked out tomorrow from 7 PM to 10 PM. So I'll be making sure I'm charging my car, running the dishwasher, running the washing machine, that kind of thing, as much as I can during that time. Hopefully my house circuit will cope. We'll see. But you get to choose a 3-hour slot, and there's 12 slots over 4 days. So tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think it's open to anyone who has the Aurora Plus app, but you'll get a notification if you can use it.
Is it 3 hours per week?
Oh, it's a one-off thing. So it's just for the next 4 days, and then after that, I think they'll see how it went, and they'll do it again in a few months' time. Not quite sure how they chose the time slots, because I think everyone's going to choose the peak time, because it's when power costs the most.
Yeah.
But we'll see what we'll see.
Why are they
what
doing it? What are they trying to do?
I don't know. I think it's just a promotional thing to see if they can maybe change people's habits by giving them free power at a certain time. Not quite sure.
I think it's primarily a research project at the moment for them to understand how it might affect load and how consumers behave. I guess.
I know there is an energy retailer in New Zealand that has as an ongoing thing. You can choose like a 1 hour block in the middle of the night between midnight and 6 AM, and you can choose that 1 hour block, and every day or every week or something like that, it is basically free power for you. So people in New Zealand are getting 3-phase, and they're doing all their charging in that 1 hour kind of thing.
There are retailers on the mainland that do, free charging, free electricity between certain hours because of the amount coming in and solar power.
Yeah, lots of the states with lots of solar uptake, like Western Australia and Queensland, they're doing things like that. So it's like between 10 and 2 or something along those lines.
So you said 4 times.
Sorry,
That's 4 time slots.
12 time slots. So three ranges over 4 days. So
Yeah. So what are the ranges then? Sorry.
I think the ones might be something like 1 till 4, 4 till 7, and 7 till 10, or something like that. Over Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I registered for it, and that's if you're on peak and off peak, and you've got solar, that's the only one really that's of much use to you. So it's worth having a look at the dates.
Yeah.
Time.
So you might need to have the Aurora Plus app on your phone, or you might be able to do it through the website. But worth checking anyway. Jump on. Most of the rest of the news is all charger related. In the absence of Clive, I don't know if Christopher wants to talk about this one, but Glenorchy Tasmania has done a few maintenance upgrade changes to some of their chargers. You want to talk about that?
So yes, so I'm the maintenance manager for Electric Highway Tasmania. Electric Highway Tasmania is the biggest charging operator in Tasmania. We own a few sites around the place, and we own 4 Chempower sites. So this is an example of a satellite. This is a dual satellite, and so there are 2 plugs in a dual satellite. You can charge 2 cars at once. All 4 sites we installed with 2 satellites, each can charge 2 cars. Never mind that there are only 2 bays there, and you can only charge 2 at once there. You could physically charge 4 cars at once. When we installed them, I wasn't there, we ran the wrong cables. And so the chargers were set up to charge at 80 kilowatts per plug, and we put enough cables in to run 40 kilowatts, which means we've been running them at twice the rate of power for the last however long they've been in. So we just did an upgrade. We've done 3 sites so far. There's 1 left to do, where we have replaced. So first we we turned it immediately as we found this out, we turned them down to 40 kilowatts, so they weren't exceeding the cable ratings anymore. And then we scheduled upgrades where we pulled all those cables out just in case they were damaged, replaced them all with 2 cables where we used to have 1. And so now we can run at the rated 80 kilowatts. We also took the opportunity to replace one of the dual satellites with a single satellite. And so the single one just has a single CCS plug on it instead of CCS and CHAdeMO, which means all of these sites now will have one satellite with a single CCS and the other satellite with a CCS and a CHAdeMO. Now, the reason we took that CHAdeMO out is that costs us money. So we bill through ChargeFox, and ChargeFox bill us per connector on the site. And so that was one reason to not have the extra CHAdeMO there, because the CHAdeMOs aren't used very often anyway. The CCS might be used 20 times a day, and the CHAdeMO will be used once every couple of days. But it also means that we can then, for our new sites, because we've got new Kempower sites coming, we'll then use that dual satellite at one of the new ones, and we only have to buy one more, and they're just for a cost saving type of thing. So the 3 that have been done, we did Oaklands yesterday, we've previously done Glenorchy and Sandy Bay, and there is Kingston left to go. Kingston was the least urgent because it did have larger cables put in there, but we will do the same thing and increase it to 80 kilowatts, whereas it's been 40 or 50, I think, up till now. So then all 3 sites will be pretty much the same. And then the new sites coming in with Kempower, I'm not sure exactly which ones they are, but I think Cradle Mountain, Vienna, Exeter. That's the ones I can think of. I think those are all Kempower, so they'll be similar sites to the ones we have.
So does that mean if you go and use the single post CCS, we're dedicated to 80 kilowatts, or is it still shared amongst all?
It is shared.
It is still shared, yep.
Yeah. So each of these sites, let's say Sandy Bay and Glenorchy, have 150 kilowatt feed. So if you have 2 cars at the same time that can both draw more than 80 kilowatts, they'll be 75 each.
Right.
And proportion based, yeah. So with the Kempower, as one goes down, the other one can come up to its limit. With Oaklands, I think the total power is limited to a bit less. Oh no, I think it is 150 kilowatts. Yeah, I think it's the same. I had an idea the fuse was a little bit less than 150 kilowatts, but no, I think it is.
Okay, thanks. Ready? Jump on. This slide and the next one are a couple of sites that are in progress at Birdie, and I thought I'd go and take a look. Not just to do that, of course. This one is just a fast charger at the uni campus there. I was up there just before Christmas. Thought I'd have a look. It wasn't powered on, and just as I got out of the car, someone in a university Kia Niro happened to drive in and said, "Oh, can I help you? Can I help you with that?" And I was just asking when it was going to be active and if it's a public charger, and she said, "Yeah, it should be the first or second week of January," and it isn't yet, but that's okay. So yeah, that'll be a public one. It's about 1 kilometre away from the existing Electric Highway Tasmania one, and it will be completely available to the public. There's nothing obvious regarding payment. There is a little credit card terminal on the front, so I don't know if that means it will be credit card accessible.
So I've just done my Tritium training on the RTM series.
Yep.
So the one on the left looks like an RTM, which either comes in a 50 or a 75 version.
Yep.
So they can charge 2 cars at once. If it's a 75, then the right-hand plug can charge up to 75, the left-hand plug can charge up to 75. But if they're both connected, the left one goes up to 25 and the right one goes up to 50. So always use the right one if you can.
I think the reason for that is usually the CHAdeMO's on the left, the 25 one, is that right?
I haven't seen a CHAdeMO version in my training, but I'm sure that makes sense.
Or is it just Tritium weirdness?
They explain exactly why it is. It's to do with the contactors inside and so on. It makes it simple rather than the very complicated way that Kempower do it. So I imagine it's a cost.
I know when BP on the mainland installed quite a few of those units with dual CCS, and people couldn't understand why they were only getting 25 kilowatts. It's like they were using the side that is normally shadow mode if it's two different connectors. So they've all learned to use the other side now. Those other two units there's actually, I think, 3 or 4 of those in total. There's 3 of them dedicated for university vehicles and 1 of them which is public, and they're just AC chargers. So there's a nice little bonus there.
So is there an AC socket in each side?
Yeah, each post has a socket each side, and yeah, there are car parks, reserved car parks every second space along. So if the reserved one is taken, there's an extra one. So it's very likely you'll be able to access the AC chargers no matter where you are. This one is a mood food. There is nothing EV related at all in those photos, but on there, this is on Marine Terrace, which is just as you enter Burnie. It's on the left before you get to the city. This has been one that's been under construction for about 6 months to a year. That it used to be a United Service Station, and it's going to be a mood food / Caltex / KFC. And that little map up the top right shows a couple of green spaces, which indicates they're going to have an EV charger there. So I took photos and I couldn't see any evidence of that yet, but their site workshop is where the EV chargers will be. So I guess once they finish most of it, they'll move that, and then we might see what they're doing. But don't know when that'll be happening, but it's mood food, so it'll probably be the same setup as what's at New Norfolk. New Norfolk and Kempton. This one we spotted last meeting, or just before last meeting, and myself and I think John's been past a few times to have a look. There's been no changes since then. There was a post on PlugShare, a comment from someone with UTAS in the username, and they said it will be for fleet usage at this point in time. So maybe we can scratch that off the possible charges. This one also hasn't changed. I think you're waiting on, I'll say you, I'll just talk to Christopher here.
Yeah, so my understanding of this, I don't really know, but my understanding is that when it was planned, they said, yes, it'll go in the existing switchboard, but when they got to the existing switchboard, they found, no, it needs to be upgraded. But the switchboard isn't a switchboard, it's a tower or something like that. It's something that normal electricians can't work on. It has to be hydro or Tas Networks, one of the two. Like, it can't be normal people. And it's been going back. It's been going back and forth ever since. And it was meant to be in June. And it's been handballed back and forth between different departments ever since. We just need the switchboard upgraded and figure out who can do it. All that stuff's sitting there degrading in the weather.
Yeah. What weather in Talon?
This is the usual map that I put up at the end, and usually Clive talks about what he knows and what he's planning. Christopher, feel free to interrupt any of the ones you want to mention, but yeah, the ones with the dotted lines are effectively planned sites, which I've listed on the right-hand side there. So there's a few EHT ones to go from the various funding rounds. First 3 Christopher mentioned earlier. There's a few more around Hobart. The ones listed under later, the EHT/NRMA sites in Ross and Deloraine. For any of you who were at our Christmas event in Ross, Clive took us on a bit of a walking tour of Ross and explained what happens behind the curtain when you're doing negotiations for sites and things like that. We wandered around the town, and he asked us to suggest, what would we think would make a good spot and things like that. And, that was very interesting. And that's listed under later because I don't believe there's a time frame at the moment. NRMA is building a network nationally that includes these 2 sites in Tassie. So
I'm interested about Cradle and Moina, because absolutely nothing appears to happen on either of those sites.
What would you like to know? Sorry, just what I know about them.
I mean, we've had the funding for a year and a half or 2 years or something, and so nothing's happened.
Okay, so my understanding at Moena is it was to be at the at the Great Lakes Hotel, I think is the name of the hotel. And they were doing
It's
a
the Moena Hotel.
Moyena Hotel. Okay.
Oh, it was
There's two.
definitely the Great Lake Hotel, because that's the
Okay.
Well,
the
that's
Don
the
Creek
big
one.
Yeah.
And so that was because they were doing a development. And so this was going to be, they were going to do all these upgrades, and this, the charger was going to be a 10-power charger, quite high power one, put in as part of this development. And the development has not happened yet. And so now it's, if we want that one to go in, we need to upgrade the power supply up there, which will probably cost us more than the entire what we were going to pay to start with. I probably shouldn't say that. I don't know that. So it's been delayed, and my understanding is we're trying to figure out what to do at the moment. I don't know if there actually is something in plan and we're waiting on it, or whether we're literally just trying to figure it out at the moment. But it will go ahead. The Cradle Mountain one definitely was going to go at the NRMA hotel. Went there the other day, I can't remember what the name of it, but the first one.
Cradle Mountain Hotel.
And the only question I think now is, oh, hang on, they own this other bit of land down at the visitor centre. Should we put it down there instead? I went up there the other day, and I reckon we probably should put it at the hotel. It's probably a better place for a
They've
charge.
got an existing destination charger up there.
Yes, yes, they have. I don't know where it would be. It quite possibly would be quite close to there. And again, a reasonably fast 10-power one. And my view is, if you put that at the visitor centre, people might plug in and then go on a walk around Cradle Mountain and take 3 hours and come back. It's not really the place for a very
That's what
fast
happens with the current charger.
Yeah, okay. Whereas if you put it at the hotel, yeah, you go there, you spend your 20 minutes having a coffee or whatever, and then you go down to the visitor centre. So no, I don't know very much about those, but a little bit.
Just to finally, on the Moena one, if the development doesn't go ahead and we decide it's too expensive for us to do the work, do we lose that funding, or when do we lose that funding? Is there a time limit on the funding we got?
There is a time limit, and it has expired a long time ago. To do with COVID and delays and delays in getting supply. Nobody, I don't think, actually met the time limit. And what happens, I don't know. I haven't read the agreement myself.
Thank you.
What about the Bothwell one? How far advanced is that?
Those ones are sort of in the proposed section, because I don't think there's no sort of grant or funding attached to those. Those were found when I was reading the council meeting minutes and things like that. And Electrona had basically written to council and asked for first right to use a couple of sites that they thought would be good locations. That was maybe 6 months ago. So I think the whole time frame of concept to installation is fairly long. So I don't know we'll expect to see anything, but they're just noted on the map because there has been things have been mentioned for those two towns. And the other one there is the Ampol site at Campbelltown. That was Ampol put a submission to the Northern Midlands Council to approve a charger there with 2 connectors. So that will sort of be nice backup for the AEVA Campbelltown one, which I think we're all experiencing a bit of pain there.
So notice on there is the Hobart Airport one.
Yep.
Is that open yet?
I don't think so.
Okay. No. You know, ChargeFox came down the other day as the grand opening. So a couple of people from So
I know they came down, but I didn't know. What
yeah, so,
exactly.
so two people from ChargeFox came down. CEO, that was one of them.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're here for the grand opening of the Hobart Airport charging station, and the Hobart Airport didn't know about it, so it didn't happen. So that sounds like it's probably close.
Because that's an EV one, so I'm not sure what ChargeFox is. On the
what was it about there? It wasn't the airport, was it?
I did see that.
I didn't hear anything.
You didn't know. Well, I might just be my wires crossed.
Someone who's
They did go to I was talking to them at the drinks, and they did go to the airport, you're right, and there was like, the airport knew nothing about it. They were like,
Yeah.
"What are you talking about?"
So I wonder what it was then,
I don't-
because it might
it was
have been
like-
AC charges.
This was the grand opening thing for,
Yeah,
and yeah, the airport knew nothing.
but you're right, EV and charge box do not mix.
No, I know that one of the people on the Facebook group who's a Uber driver with his Model 3, he scouts out the area occasionally, and he did see something there, but it was in the rental car area. So maybe it belonged to Hertz or.
Now, that would make sense because Sixt have been talking about charging at the airport.
Right.
And so I heard about that through NRMA because NRMA owns Sixt or a part of Sixt or something like that. So maybe it was not a public one, maybe it was a private one
for the rentals.
for rentals, yeah.
So the upshot is that Vienna will not be anytime soon. Because it's so convenient to go up to Liverpool.
Yeah,
to the
well,
Lakes Highway.
Yeah, much easier than doing a bridge.
Yeah.
well, I had
Much easier than the main highway to London these days.
Yeah, true.
I think I noticed that one of the recent times I went up, that between Kempton and Devonport is probably the longest unserved stretch of highway in the state that doesn't have a fast charger on it. So
yeah,
we've got three on the map, but none anytime soon, I don't think.
and that makes Kempton extremely important.
Yeah,
And Kempton
isn't.
is a fiasco.
Is. I tend to just drive past it whenever I'm.
Well, I can't drive.
Oh,
past.
yeah.
I need it.
So what's your experience with Kempton?
Well, turn up, 3 years ago, charged there, no problem. This time, 4 weeks ago, turn up, new thingies. Now it's Bolt, which I couldn't get working in New York a little while back. But anyway, Bolt, okay. App, what app? Where does it tell you what app? Frantically, can't find out what app. Go in the shop. What app? They go to their printer and print me out a piece of paper. The paper says, download Smart Charge app.
Smart charge, yeah.
Okay, so you go Smart Charge. There's about 15 or 30 different Smart Charge apps from all over the world. Eventually, 45 minutes of frantic Googling later, you find out that at the bottom of Bennett's Petroleum website, somewhere at the bottom of a scroll down page somewhere, you find out what app to download. So you download the app, you charge up your car, off you go, get to Deloraine, get to wherever I was going, somewhere away from there. Fine. On the way back, okay, this is going to be a breeze. I've already got the right app. Plug in, put in the app, nothing happens, can't get it working, can't get it working, can't get it working, can't get it working, can't get it working. Oh no, how am I going to get home? But luckily made it to Brighton. Yes, not happy. So I sent them an email on their form where you send emails explaining everything and asking them to at least put some signage. It's a great big white space on the bloody thing, which could have, even they could, laminate it and blue tack it on there for crikey's sake. And I sent them a message. They haven't even acknowledged my email, let alone replied to it.
It's very unfortunate because they were one of the first in the state to install a fast charger, but they haven't paid any attention to. I took it sort of in my stride as an early uptaker, but my husband's probably been put back 10 years of buying his EV. So just with the stress case. Yeah, I don't know what we can do apart from contact Bennett's, which you've tried to do and they haven't acknowledged anything.
Yeah. I'll make a note of that. Maybe if we,
I'll have a little bit more clout if I
Yeah, the one in New Norfolk I couldn't get working. That was 4 or 5 months ago. And that was simply because in order to get on the app, which I got, whatever the app it was then, probably a different one, I had to fill in one of those, how many bicycles can you see? And my phone screen wasn't big enough to get the OK button. So I had to drive off with that and got home with beeps going off all over the place.
You think they'll have a QR code or something, before I say you just.
Just don't need you on loads of things.
Well, I think it's, can you use it?
As a cyber person, I have to discourage the use of QR codes.
Well,
That's another, that's another conversation.
the title of the website, the anything.
Yes, I totally. Yeah.
All right. I'll take a seat.
It's back to me, isn't it? Director's update. Sorry, my laptop's gone to sleep. Not a lot to report, but yeah, I guess most of our work at the national level at the moment is on developing the AEVA growth and transformation plan, which is a body of work, I guess, coming out of the workshops that we had with the Norwegian EV Association in Perth. For those that aren't aware, I guess the Norwegian Association, we've got a memorandum of understanding with the Norwegian EV Association. They have some funding from a climate change organisation in California to spread their model throughout the world. And we're leveraging that to cooperatively develop a playbook, I guess, of what they did that was successful and grew them to the scale that they're at today, which is 120,000 members and 55 full-time staff. And a huge influencer of policy who are advocating for the EV drivers, exactly the sorts of problems that we've just heard described here now. We're developing, I guess, that growth and transformation plan that will be circulated to branch chairs in the next week. I have the unique position of being a director and a branch chair, so I've already seen it. But we just need to do the right thing, I guess, and socialise it through the branch chairs before it's released to the broader membership. But you can expect an email in your inbox, I guess, describing the pillars of that plan and links to it, etc. Probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, I think. We're not far away at this stage. But the pillars of that, I guess, will be largely adhere to the discussion and the playbook, I guess, that the Norwegian EV Association has put forward.
John, would those pillars be a useful organising principle for the conference? Maybe two
different things, I guess. I think at the moment the three sort of key objectives are to secure some financing to get our first full-time employee, to get a CEO basically that can start to add value to the AEVA membership, which is the second pillar. And then the third being sort of prioritising AEVA policy work to become a real force to be reckoned with at that policy influence sort of level. So to support that, we're likely to create some working groups and invite the membership, I guess, to contribute to working groups that are targeted at those sorts of objectives. Yeah. And I've probably said too much, and I'll have to get you to take this bit out of the public version. But yeah, happy to have an offline discussion in more detail around how that's emerging and how you can contribute to and support that work. Probably it for me on director's update. So over to events. December 10th. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend Christmas lunch at the Ross Hotel. Does Charles or
Who wants to talk about it?
probably anything?
I've spoken to Mike already.
Christmas lunch, yes. We went to, obviously, as some know, we went to the Ross Hotel.
Come up the front so they can see you.
They can see me. They can see me, trust me. Look over here. We'll send her to also.
Chopped your head off, chopped your head off.
Just this body.
Yeah. Tucked down.
So yeah, we went to Ross Hotel for Christmas lunch. It was really good. We had a good turnout. Had about 25 people from memory show up. So that was good. The weather was good, obviously, as you can see in the pictures there. It was I think if we'd had any more people, though, the venue might have been a bit too small because we were sort of in a room in the back, and yes, it was a bit loud though. I noticed. So hard surfaces are good. Yeah, on the way up, we obviously, my car charged, and there's a bunch of others as well that came along. So there's the MG4, they have orange one there in the picture, and yeah, a bunch of us actually had Owens on the way up, sort of charging.
Thank you for your custom.
What's that?
Thank you for your custom.
Yes. And afterwards, obviously, we went with Clive around the town and looked for like sites for, as I mentioned, for possible charges for Ross. And some of us went to the bakery to have a official. I didn't have one, but some people had the famous, yes. French
Vanilla
slice, yes.
I made the best.
It was nice.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, so people have ideas for I mean, it's a bit early, I know, but see what it is for next year. So we picked somewhere in the middle, as close as I get. So yeah.
So this is a good example of we can have little events like this. So John just came up with this idea, and I put it on the website, and suddenly it happened. It can be pretty easy if you have an idea for a nice event, a social event out somewhere.
Yeah, I sort of thought, well, we've done it before because Charles has organized one to the south, and I think we used to have a north and south one at one point. Well, let's do a combined one and try and get to the middle somewhere.
Don't forget the northwest, okay? Still, it's just as far to Launceston as it is from Launceston to Hobart, right?
Yeah, and so yes, if you have a good idea, then feel free to just let us know, and it'll probably happen.
Yeah.
Maybe arrange it with the next DHT charger opening if it's in an interesting town.
Yes, yeah.
Always very busy at EHT charger.
Not much in Tulla.
No.
As for events, we've got a social event on the 28th this weekend. So
Yes, which is almost next on our agenda. I think we erroneously included reporting on the national conference. We did that last time, so we won't bore you with that again. Know your EV workshops?
Yes, we have been talking about these for a while, and we've finally had somebody volunteer to coordinate. So Jeff Garner from Lagana. I remembered Lagana to remind myself of Garner. Jeff has offered to coordinate these, so not so much do anything, not present, not do the slides, but coordinate. And so at the moment we have, because Jeff's from Lagana and Ray is from Launceston and I'm from nearby Launceston as well, and we've sort of volunteered to present, decided let's do the first one in Launceston. So we're going to do a trial, hopefully in mid-March, although there's so much stuff on in March, we'll see. The idea is we've decided to do a budget that will pay the presenters. So we may just volunteer our time for the first couple, but the idea is that we'll create this thing so it is self-sustaining. We don't want to wear our volunteers out, so we'll pay the presenters. And we've got a few target audiences in mind, and we'll possibly target different ones to different audiences, but we'll see how we go. The first one, we'll just sort of put it out there and see who wants to come along. Do probably the first one at the Launceston Library because that's nice and cheap. They've got a meeting room like this one, a bit bigger. And there's a DC charger walking distance from the venue, so we can do a workshop and end up with a practical down at the thing for people who want to stay that long. The different target audiences would be, for instance, people who have just purchased an EV, people who are looking to purchase an EV, or people who have bought one and they're in the seven-month waiting period until theirs arrives. And then you can imagine different audiences might be families. So you might have family-oriented ones where you have a discount ticket, because if the whole family comes, you're going to learn more than if just one person from the family comes. Or we might have seniors, or we might have our school holidays would be fitting with the family theme. We might have businesses. So, for instance, we'll probably ask dealerships if they would like to put their new employees through this course, so that their employees get an idea of what your average person wants to know and can answer some of the questions themselves. We'll probably also put it through dealerships. So, for instance, up northwest, we might say, Bernie dealership, we're going to plan this one. Would you like to invite people who are coming in and looking, and we'll do it specifically on your cars there, have it at your dealership on your cars, explain to people how they fit into the whole scheme. So we've got a few different ideas there. Hire car companies is another one. They can put their employees through it as well. So it's going ahead. So far, it's really good. So at the moment, we are working on the presentation. We've set ourselves mid-March as a prompt to make sure we get this presentation done. But at the moment, we've got a few people working on that presentation. We're going to sort of have every idea in there to start with. And then when you do the presentation, you might leave out this bit because of your audience. You might expand more on this bit and have less on that bit, depending on what your audience is. That's good, it's going ahead.
And January 28th, we've got another social event coming up, the Huon Valley Social Meetup at Willie Smith's, I think it is.
Yep.
Organised by Aurelian. Yep. You can, I think that's on the Facebook group, you can register there, and it's on the AEVA website.
Yeah, I noticed on the website it is listed as reservations have closed, not reservations, bookings are closed. So I'm not sure if that was because he changed the date, he didn't reopen them, but if you see it on the website and you want to go, that's okay. It's a very casual sort of venue, so just turn up.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so it didn't need the bookings.
We might reopen the website because just getting estimate of numbers.
Yeah.
There's also a social meetup in down far south. Where is it, in Southport? At the, it's called the Rocket, I think it is. It's on the 2nd of March. So it's like a week after the 2nd of February. 2nd of February. It's on the Facebook page as well. But I don't know if it's on the AEVA website or not. Yeah. Well, they were going to be further apart, but obviously this one got moved. So
You're qualified to put it up on the website now, aren't you, Chuck?
I've never used the website. I think I put one thing up there, but I had your help to do the RCP.
It wasn't you I trained recently, okay.
Aurelian?
Okay.
Probably was, yeah.
We've got Electrify Everything coming up in Sydney to commercial event. AEVA does have a discount code for it. I'm not sure if it's actually on the website yet, but I have seen some emails flying around. So if it's not on the website yet, it will be soon. So wait for that discount code if you're planning on looking for that one.
And they are, if you'd like to volunteer at the stand too, they're still asking for volunteers, aren't they?
Correct. Yep, they are.
And for those not familiar, that's formerly Fully Charged Live, so the Fully Charged YouTube channel.
Super rebranded Fully Charged Live. Yeah.
Yeah, they had their first Australian event last year in March, and it went quite well for them. So they've gone to a bigger venue. Should we practice that?
It's really worth going to. Yeah, they did a really good job last.
Yeah. Christopher's got a few events coming up in the north. Sustainable Living Festival on the 2nd. Up Electric Cars on the 3rd.
So the Sustainable Living Festival is run by Tamar NRM. We're given the opportunity to do a test drive day. So this will be something that we would like to get volunteers to. We should try and get dealers to these events. So we should try and get as many dealers as we can to this venue to get test drives in their electric vehicles. It'd be great if we had somebody in the organisation who would like to take on the role of being the person who contacts dealers, because we have lots of events where it'd be great if somebody had a personal relationship with different dealers. Oh yes, I know this person has this car and that sort of stuff. So if any of you'd like to volunteer for that job, even if it wasn't statewide, if it's only in your area, that would be very useful. Because I was just thinking about this the other day. I think, oh yes, I need to go and contact some dealers and find out what they've got and bring them along, as well as volunteers to help just talk to people about electric vehicles and sort of manage the queues of people getting into the vehicles to go for their little test drives and so on. We'll probably also want volunteers, so we'd rather a dealer vehicle than a volunteer vehicle if you had the same model, because they'll have the latest one and they'll have the knowledge and they'll have the brochures and knowledge of prices and all that kind of stuff. But it's still very valuable to have members there who have the lived experience with a particular model. But I'd probably rather see if there are cars driving, it'd be better if they are dealer vehicles, but we may not get them, especially being on a weekend. Dealers don't necessarily want to pay for their employees to work on that. So we'll be asking for volunteers shortly for that event.
And we've got Devonport Motor Show on the 24th.
Oh yeah, sorry, and the pop-up electric cars. That is an example of somebody who just wanted to make a little event. And I pointed out that it was the day after the Sustainable Living Festival, and he didn't seem to care. So this is Sean Matters in Westbury, and so this is really just a very small event. He's inviting his friends around, come and have a go in electric cars. And the reason to do it like this through the AEVA meeting is it's then covered by public liability insurance. So then he was going to do this anyway. But it's a benefit of being in the club is that you can then get public liability insurance. Somebody breaks their ankle there, or he's covered for that sort of thing.
EcoFest on the 6th of April in near us.
Yes. I just got an email today saying we haven't replied to them, so I need to get on to
Devonport Motor Show.
You missed Devonport.
Oh, yeah, Devonport Motor Shows. Yeah, that's a nice little show that we just turn up to. So if you'd like to take your car to Devonport Motor Show, go to their website, follow the link that I'll have in the minutes, and register as being part of AEVA, and we can all be put together. It was very nice last year, lovely warm day underneath the nice trees. Have a good old chat and talk to people who come along. Most people are lovely. You don't get very many crazies at these ones. And yeah, EcoFest is another test drive day. That's a reasonably serious one, very similar to a Sustainable Living Festival. Yeah, so once when we talk to the dealers, we should talk to them about both March and April, because we're up in the north there.
Is that the Camp Clayton?
Yeah.
What was that, sorry?
Is that the Camp Clayton?
Yes. Yes, it's been at Camp Clayton the last couple of years, and that seems to work quite well for our test drives.
And finally, November 1st to 3rd, I've already spoken about, I guess, the National Conference and Expo in Hobart. So we might call Charles back to the stage to tell us all about his trip to Perth.
We want to stand this time.
The chair says.
Yeah, stand down. Don't chop your head off.
Please.
Oh, can I just say something?
Not very good.
Sorry, Julie.
Yes.
Just something that maybe either members know about, but on March 31st, there's a webinar about electric charging, electric chargers, technologies, and
First webinar.
January 31st webinar. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I did have that written down and I forgot to call it out.
Me too.
Yeah. So thank you for reminding us, Julie. Yes, a webinar on charging and vehicle to load.
Yeah, vehicle to grid, all that sort of stuff.
Yep, on January 31st, register on the AEVA website, free for AEVA members, $15 for non-members. Cheaper to join because you'll like the next webinar as well.
Right.
Full screen. I met him on the trip, so you might want to admit him. More than that.
Cool. Did you want to control?
Yeah.
Right arrow. Cool, no worries.
Okay, so this is basically a bit of a summary about all the different facets involved with travelling long distances in an EV. I'll sort of go through the process of how I planned it, how I decided where I'd go, the various accessories and things like that I would use. So
I may want to stand closer to those microphones so that we hear you.
Standing to John. Yeah. Oh,
Good question.
I think they'd be unlikely to hide.
Try that.
let's try this one.
I think I'll do something.
How much more on?
Well, maybe don't turn the other ones off.
So,
Screen.
John, are you able to tilt the camera?
Oh, yeah.
Just check when Charles is in place.
That's good. Oh, that's good.
Thank you.
You do very.
That's my job done. John's is another.
So, what is it? Tilt it down. There we go. Yeah. See.
Is that good?
That's good. We can see Charles.
Let Shane in.
Come on.
I'm not big on our screen.
That's
Actually, you can do it too. There we go.
Going.
Okay, whoops. Okay, there we go. Right, okay, I think we're good. First I'll start a bit about the history of long distance travelling in Australia. When doing this trip, I was basically standing on the shoulders of giants because there are people who have done all kinds of trips across Australia in EVs. The top one there is a picture of Richard McNeil's Model S. He's from Sydney. He did the lap in about 2017, the whole country. That was before there was pretty much nothing but caravan park charges at that time, so 15 amp power points. And he worked with AEVA and TOCA, the Tesla Owners Club of Australia, to get 3-phase power points installed at many of these remote locations. So he sort of started it all, and there's been many since. I think about 30 people have done their lap all around the country, and multiple times that number have done the trip across the Nullarbor, which is the section that I did.
The last one I heard about it did it in 10 days around the country.
Yes, Harold from Western Australia, yes.
It's been flying.
Yeah, 1,300 k's a day, something like that.
Wow.
Yes. I think he owns the. I think he might own the Model X on the bottom left picture there on the right hand edge. There's also a Kona on the far left, and on the right there's an Atto 3 and a Tesla, which is that Tesla at the moment is currently doing the lap with the caravan attached. So once you start, you can't stop apparently. So why do it? The main reason was, of course, the AEVA Expo, which has been held in Perth. That was over a weekend at the start of November. But I also didn't want to just drive across and then drive back again. So I sort of integrated another sort of hobby of mine, which is park run. I don't know if anyone's heard of it, but basically it's a 5K free running event held every Saturday morning in all those places around Australia and around the world as well. But I thought I'll line it up so that every Saturday I'm in one of those towns. The more remote, the better.
None on the Nullarbor.
That was one of my challenges. So, everyone's joining right now. Okay, so my first step with preparation. What route am I going to take? Now, you would think there's only one way from Hobart to Perth, but I tried to take detours as much as possible on the way there and the way back, because a lot of those roads are long and straight, and you do want a bit of variety. So I plotted out all my locations, my Saturday morning spots that I had to be. I looked at what charges were on the route. I looked at the It looked at the distances, the charges that were built and planning to be opened, and sort of optimised things as much as I could. And I worked out I could do the return trip with a few side trips in 4 weeks, quite comfortably. And I used a bit of plug share on there as well, because there's always new things popping up there. The other thing I had to do was work out this Tesla camp mode thing, because if I was to travel for 4 weeks, I couldn't afford to be staying in even cheap motel rooms. It was going to be too expensive. So by camping most of the time, I was able to stay at caravan parks most of the time. It would be something like $40 a night or $60 for the more fancy ones. I did consider free camping, which is sort of, you know, untethered, but I didn't want to risk it. I wanted to be at least plugged in every night. So for those who don't know, Tesla has a mode called camp mode, which basically puts climate control on overnight for you, sets the recirculation and everything like that, turns the headlights off overnight so it doesn't dazzle other campers in the caravan park, and it turns off the walk-away automatic door lock, so you don't get out, go to the toilet in the middle of the night and come back and get locked out of your car. So all these kinds of little features that make it a bit easier. I think other models of cars probably have similar things these days, or at least you can emulate it by just leaving things plugged in.
It keeps the USB on, so you can charge your phone.
No, that's right, very important. Now there's also, I thought, so that I know, you know, I wanted to know what I was doing first, so I thought I'd do a few practice runs. So these 3 photos are, the top right one is Latrobe, the middle one there is Westbury, and the left one is St Helens. So these are just trips I did beforehand, just overnight, just to make sure that I had everything planned. The middle one there at Westbury, it was 1 degree overnight, and I was totally warm, so I thought, okay, I can handle that, so that's okay.
So assuming you're sleeping in the car,
Yes.
right, how comfortable is that?
I've got some photos of that too. Not of me in there, but of the setup. Yeah. Yeah, there's a few tricks I had to do to make it as comfortable as possible. So actually up the top right there, that's the air mattress that I use. It's a self-inflating air mattress. Other people use foam mattresses and things like that, but there were great reports about this one. Well, not this one, the more expensive version, but this is the affordable version. Other equipment I've got on the left there are things like a tyre repair kit, screwdrivers, pliers, first aid kit. There's even a fly face mask there, because apparently I was warned to, yeah, the flies would be terrible at that time of year. And I've also got the Tesla wall connector that is included with the car, well, was included with the car. That lets you plug into 10 or 15 amp sockets. The other bit of charging gear I had was this one, which is a 3-phase charging kit. Lets you plug into all the outlets that I was talking about before when Richard went around and did his big lab. These are expensive. They're over $1,500 for the kit, but I was able to borrow this through the Tesla Owners Club. If you remember, you can borrow it for free. So that had all the tails required to charge at up to 11 kilowatts, which is 3 times faster than a 15 amp socket.
Did you use them all?
All the tails?
Yeah.
No. I used the 15 amp one just to test it initially, and after that I only used the one that's in the picture up the top there. The other 2 I didn't use. One of them's a 20 amp plug, which the middle pin is offset a bit, similar to that one, but the middle pin is offset. And the other one's a 10 amp plug, which I didn't need because I had my own one.
I thought they had a limit of 2 weeks on borrowing.
I think if it's a certain use case where you actually need it for a longer period, they'll.
Okay, thank you.
I don't believe AEVA, I know AEVA doesn't do that in Tassie because we don't really need to down here. The AEVA branch in Western Australia does have a similar kit because.
Docker or AEVA?
AEVA, yeah, AEVA in Tasmania, we don't have one here, but AEVA in Western Australia does have one because where they are, they travel long distances as well.
There has been talk amongst the secretaries just in the last week or 2 on coordinating this to make it a nationally coordinated system, so things can go from one branch to another and don't have to go back again and all that kind of stuff. We'll see if it happens.
Yeah, that's right. The other thing, of course, I drive an EV, so I like gadgets. And the best thing about having a giant battery is, and with USB ports, is you can keep everything charged. So as well as my phone and iPad, any tools that I had that needed to be charged, I want them to be USB-C, so that I wouldn't have to carry batteries, run out of batteries, that kind of thing. So from where I've got the a camping lantern, which was actually not used on this trip because it was so light late in the evening, but it was great for my earlier practice trips. A tyre inflator, which is portable. It's not very big. It's only about that big, and that can be used obviously anywhere. You don't need to find a servo with an air pump and things like that to inflate your tyre. The third one was a weird one. It's a USB electric toothbrush. And I needed one anyway. I had a gift card that was going to expire, and it was a bit of a novelty, so I thought, why not? When I went to Canberra the previous year, I just took my one from home without the charger, and I ran out the day before I got home. So I thought I'll take my own charge. And the fourth one there, that's a USB espresso machine. I have to say I didn't buy that, but I contemplated it. Now, this is what it goes back to your question about how comfortable the car was. Normally, the back seat folds down as shown in the left-hand picture there. So it's slightly tilted up. However, there's a trick with there's a trick that you can remove the bench of the back seat and then it folds down flatter as shown on the right-hand side there.
Sweating down.
It is. So, I did find that I just had a couple of pillows and made sure I could counter that a bit, but
So your head was at that end.
that's right, yeah. So
Where all your gadgets are.
that's right, but you're the important part. The important part. So in my single practice trips, I just had it on the left hand one there with the seats angled up, and to be honest, I didn't really mind it that way. So probably for the short trips, I probably won't bother taking the seat out. But
What do you have to take out?
the bench of the back seat, basically the bottom part of the back seat.
The cushion you sit on.
Yeah.
What you sit on.
Where do you put it?
Oh, I took it out before I left and left it at home.
Oh,
Someplace.
I don't think you've got passengers.
It wouldn't have passengers.
No, you wouldn't.
They could lie down.
I only had one passenger when I was there, and that was Clive, and he sat in the front. Yeah, that's one thing. In the Model 3, you can only practically fit one person with all the gear that you need. So that's another caveat, I guess. There we go. So that's a view from the boot of my sleeping area. So it's basically the mattress, a few bags on the side. One thing that I had to do was try and fit everything into a specific location and make sure that there was a place for everything. So there's a big storage area under the boot, that was where the 3-phase charging kit was. And the left side floor of the back seat was food and water. The right-hand side was my other backpack. The front was an esky, the front floor. So every single spot in the car had something in it. I think I would say the Model 3 is great if you want to have lots and lots of small things, but not if you want to fit one big thing. Then you need a Model Y or a different model. That's a hatch. So after all that, time to set off. I did just try typing Perth into the navigation on the right, but it didn't work. So I had to do it my own way. So the picture on the left there is me charging at the Devonport Supercharger after driving up there. They put the little sticker there, electric vehicle Spirit of Tasmania, on your windscreen for EVs. I wasn't sure why that was, but I found every time you get in a good spot to leave first. So you're always on deck 5. And I did find out that's the deck that has the most fire prevention.
Yeah.
It's got water that they can basically pump in from the sea and constantly shed, and it just sheds out. So they can just pump water forever there. So I think that might be it. That's something they might be concerned about.
I think that is it, because we got shifted from a normal place to that deck, and they said it was so they could flood if they're worried about battery fires.
That's it.
So they flood all the cars.
Pretty much. Okay, the first part of the trip is basically unexciting and like playing the whole trip with a cheat mode on. So that's the first 5 superchargers that I used over those 2 days. basically get there and plug in, and 15 minutes later you're ready to go again. I only needed to use probably 3 of those, but I wanted to check them all out anyway because part of the trip. I only saw one other car in the entire 5 stops, and that was someone going from, I think it might have been Adelaide to Sydney, something like that. They were a bit shocked when I saw us from Tassie. They were even more shocked when I said where I was going.
Did you have any improved supercharging?
No.
Good.
And you chose the Tesla superchargers just through ease, or
Had I, sorry?
you chose the Tesla superchargers because it's easy with the system?
Yeah. I was tempted to go and hunt out the other ones and see what they were like and things, but
Yeah, thanks.
that's right. Yeah. I also didn't want to hog a 1 or 2 stall site if others wanted to use it. Whereas these ones, biggest one there is the top left. That was only a month or 2 old. It has 10 stalls. Not another car was there. It was about 7:38 in the morning. But these are a couple of shots of the caravan parks. The first one there is at Harndorf, just outside Adelaide. You know, nice, smooth, tarmac roads, lots of green grass, and that set my expectations for the rest of the trip, which was a bad idea. It does get a bit less green than that later on. The right-hand one is at Port Augusta, and that is. I should add, I'm not really a camping person, so I wasn't familiar with all the camping ground, etiquette and routine and things like that. I didn't know you could get en-suite powered sites, which is where you get just a bathroom and a PowerPoint. So it's exactly what I need and nothing that I don't need. So that's an en-suite powered site where I basically have my own bathroom and charge the car right there as well. So that was at Port Augusta, which was the first of my parkrun locations. So that was sort of my deadline, and I got there easily. So that was no problem.
What sort of cost is there for a en-suite powered site?
They are probably about $60 a night, whereas normally it's about $40.
That between your mortgage.
Well worth it. I didn't say that I'd stay those all the time, but it was handy. So the night before I left, I put in my next destination on the Tesla navigation. So that is the left-hand screen there. It says I'll get to, I think it's Wadena. I might be pronouncing that wrong. Wadena. It says I'll get there with 1%. So I can put the navigation in, leave the car charging overnight, and it just gradually updates as you go along. So in the middle one there, I'll get there with, it's run to the screen, so I can read it. 22? Yep, 22, and then 30% for the last one. So basically you put navigation in and it just sort of keeps you updated as to what it thinks you'll be at your destination, and you can go whenever you think you're comfortable with that sort of weight. And I did that all through the trip, just put in the future stops, so I had an idea of what I should expect. So Kalgoorlie was my next parkrun location. So that was basically from one Saturday morning to the next Saturday morning. That was my target. So this is a turn off. You don't want to take the wrong turn there because you'll end up very far away from where you want to go.
Twice as many go left than this, right?
Must be, yeah. Must be way more demand there. Now this is pretty much what the roads look like. Very straight, very flat, very good quality. More importantly, there's almost no potholes. I guess the roads are mostly made for road trains, so they're made for huge amounts of weight all the time. The top left one there is it's a Royal Flying Doctors emergency landing strip area. So there'll be a sign every so often where it says next 5 kilometres or next couple of kilometres. Yeah, look out for emergency landing strip. Yeah. I thought there'd be lights or something if there was a plane coming in, but you just have to look up, I guess.
I think they buzz up and down over there a couple of times.
You'll probably notice, yeah.
The police, if you didn't know, use those as well.
Yeah.
Because they would check your speed from the plane.
Oh, right.
They certainly used to do that, but I don't think they do it nowadays. Do they?
I don't know, but I know that.
Yeah, they used to.
Fortunately, I didn't have any of that. But yeah, the roads are very wide, which is great because if there's an animal hopping out, you want to know that it's coming well in advance. Now, one quote that I've heard from one of the West Australian guys who travels this route or has travelled this route fairly often is that people call it nulla boring, and it's anything but, he says, because if you look around, you can find interesting things everywhere. There's a silo artwork in Kimber in South Australia. Bottom right is a windmill museum, which is at town now, just after Ceduna. The one on the bottom left is
it Penola?
Penong. Yes, Penong. That's the one. I needed a bit of help there. The bottom left is a remnant of the Skylab space station when it crashed in Western Australia. That's on top of one of the roadhouses in Western Australia. And the top left is Ceduna, which is near the coast. And of course, there are lots of signs of, which you can take photos of your car in front of to brag about how far you've driven. So we've got halfway across Australia at Kimber, welcome to Western Australia in the bottom right, and the big SAWA one at the border. And of course, you all want to know how I was charging. That's the most interesting part. A few of these are caravan parks on the right-hand side. You can see the top left one there is a sort of a regular AC charger, which I used while I was having lunch. The bottom left is one of the three-phase outlets. That's at the Nullarbor Roadhouse, and the bottom centre is a Tesla destination charger at a motel in Ceduna. So those bottom two are both 11 kilowatts. You can see the top of all these photos. The top left was the first photo, and the top right was the last one. And you can tell by how dirty the windscreen is. These were just various spots. You can see there's a lot less green than at Harndorf. What I would generally do is try to arrive at a caravan park at about 3-4 p.m. with about 40% of my battery. And that was the perfect capacity and time to be at 100% at 7 a.m. the next morning. So when you're at a caravan park, power is free effectively. So you want to sort of, make the most of it. It was actually at Penong, I thought I'd test out the three-phase charger, and I ended up plugging it in and being full by 8 p.m. I thought that's a real waste. I've just, done that, and I've got all this time I could be charging.
You got the same number of kilowatt hours, just
That's right. Different rate. That's right. Yeah. I didn't want the car there at 100% in the hot sun for too long. Now these charging units are on the Western Australia side of the border. These have been funded basically by volunteers, by the AEVA West Australian branch, and nationally as well in some cases, by TOCA, the Tesla Owners Club of Australia, and TOCWA, the Tesla Owners Club of Western Australia. So the two at the right are 22 kilowatt DC chargers. So they just plug into the three-phase outlets that any car can use, except they can charge your car at 22 kilowatts instead of 11 kilowatts. It's very handy. It's very handy to do first DC charging after 3 or 4 days.
they're not the biofuel unit.
No, they're not. They're just regular right off the PowerPoint. The biofuel unit on the left there it's a one-off. And as I was pulling up, there was a Tesla coming the other direction that pulled up 30 seconds earlier. Now it's a normal 50 kilowatt DC charger run off a diesel generator that is powered by fish and chip oil from the restaurant. So they sort of collect the oil from the local roadhouses, put it all into there. And at that point, the guy behind the counter gets grumpy about having to go out and start the generator for you. So one thing you find is that all these different chargers have different sort of, because it's not just swiping a fob or using an app, it's talking to people and asking nicely in some cases. So it's very different in the outback in that regard. Unfortunately, I didn't actually need to charge there, so I just kept on driving and went to the next one. But I wanted to stop there as a novelty, so at least I got the photo with the 2 cars there.
I like the AEVA sign on there as well. So those were
all
printed in Tasmania and sent all over the country.
That's right.
Charles, I believe there's some new DC 22 or 24 kilowatt chargers that supposedly can actually go all the way across on DC now.
Spoilers.
Oh,
yes, there is. I will file this map. There's a map later on. And finding a charger is great, but what's even sadder is finding a almost functioning charger. So these are ones that were being built by the RAA in South Australia. They're 150 kilowatt DC chargers, and all I can do is park next to them and look at them because they're not active. So yeah, that would have made the trip a lot faster. The one on the bottom right is a West Australian EV network one. Again, it's 150 kilowatts. And effectively that would have made a stop, made it into a 15-minute stop instead of a, several hours on a 3-phase socket. Yeah, these ones were ones that I just happened to see on PlugShare. I thought I'll just go and look just in case, but no luck anyway. And any that I didn't know were working, I didn't plan on using them, so at least I wouldn't, put myself out. So this is the trip so far. Oh, sorry, it goes forward a little bit, but if you look at the arrows, it's little arrows on the 2 towns at the top there. You've got Port Augusta to Kalgoorlie, and the circles are places where I stop overnight. So that gives you an idea of how far I travelled each day. Usually it was one leg, a midday charge, and then another leg, and then that was it. If you're more adventurous, you can travel for a bit further, but as I said, I wanted to stop by 3 or 4 p.m. And Kalgoorlie, I actually got there a day in advance of the Saturday, so I was ahead of schedule at that point. I had 2 days in Kalgoorlie, so I looked around a bit. Very mining focused, as you can guess. There's a mining museum there. There is the giant super pit almost right next to the town. You just go up and over a hill, and there's the giant pit there. And you'll find a lot of the sort of civic amenities are very high quality because they're all sponsored by the mining companies. The park run that I was at was at a really fancy park full of native gardens and wonderfully paved surfaces and things like that. So yeah, that was it was nice to have a bit of a break. And at the tourist centre, I thought I'll have a look at this brochure and see if I can find anything about EV charging. Page 3. Look at vehicle charging locations, and it's nice and vague because they knew that after they published it, it would be out of date a few months later. So it's good that they mentioned it though. It's good advice generally. Now that was I left Kalgoorlie on a Saturday, and my plan was to get to Perth before the conference just before the conference which started on the Thursday. So this particular leg, I thought I'll take the scenic route because I was going to go straight the way back. I went down towards the coast, and this was my longest leg without stopping to charge, which is 411 kilometres. So this was a standard range Model 3. Well, I thought I tried travelling at about 100 k's an hour. I think the speed limit's 110. And I thought 100 is fast, 100 is slow enough that you get a bit of an advantage, but you also aren't inconveniencing people too much. I could always speed up if people were obviously being annoyed by it. About halfway along, I got to the back of a double lane wide load truck. So you see wide loads in Tassie. Yeah. So you see the wide load ones in Tassie, you just have to move over a bit and they will go past in the other direction. This one was taking up both lanes, and they had numerous cars before and after. It was basically a truck delivering a dump truck, a mining site dump truck. So it felt like forever, but I checked my logs later on, it was only 15 minutes, but I was driving at 40 to 50 k's an hour for that time. So I managed to make it down to Esperance, 411 kilometres with 7% left. So I was happy with that. Yeah, there's a picture of the truck there. There was I wasn't sure what the signal was that I was allowed to pass, but there was a guy waving his hand out the window of the truck behind it. So I guess that was it. And in the small picture on the bottom there, you can see the DC chargers at Esperance, 2 150 kilowatt units. So that was like, it was like a gold mine basically. Charge very quickly. I was talking before about the caravan parks and the varying quality. This, I think, was the gold standard of caravan park. This was the RSE park in Esperance. Yeah, the powered site has a nice little mat next to my car there, so I don't have to tread on dirt. I can just tread on this session mat. There's pictures on the right there of the camp kitchen, which is full of ovens and microwaves and everything you want there. Yeah, and everything was paved. The roads are paved, they weren't just gravel. And it's a very nice luxury. So that was Esperance. Now the rest of my trip, I would just pause here and say there was another caravan park I stopped at, which was at Albany. I think it was Albany. And at that point, I was at the caravan park setting up, and someone came along to me and said, "Excuse me, are you Charles?" And I recognised the name, logged on to the remote meeting here, Lawson. He is from Tassie, and he came along to say hello. So, hi Lawson, thanks for joining in on the presentation.
Hi, Charles. Thanks very much. Very interested to see. I might try it myself.
Sorry?
We might try the trip ourselves.
Yes. Good. Yeah, so that was, I just sort of just stop there just to introduce Lawson. But yeah, these were the other Western Australia DC charges along the south coast. So the top right one was actually one that was installed by AEVA. That was has a list of sponsors on the back, and I thought I donated, but I must have not because my name wasn't there. So, I think I donated to the biofuel one. That's okay. But the other ones there are all Chem Power 150 kilowatt units. The one in the centre on the bottom there, notably, is well laid out for towing. There are a few of those, not all of them, but enough, I think. And yeah, once I was at this stage, I was well serviced by chargers along the coast of Western Australia. And I also stopped at, the one on the bottom right there actually shows you how popular Starling dishes are in caravan parks. You just walk along and you'll see a couple of them just lying out on the grass there next to the caravans. Starling
dishes.
Starlink. So that's the SpaceX satellite internet service. They work everywhere because all you need is the sky. So middle of the Nullarbor, yeah, anything like that. So you just saw those little dishes out on the grass everywhere. The last couple of shots there are on the way directly to Perth, where there's my campground at Fremantle at the top left and supercharger at Eaton on the bottom left there. And that was it. That was the entire westward section from Hobart to Perth, with a bit of a detour up to Kalgoorlie and back south again. So that took 14 days, 371 kilometres per day, and a few other stats there. Longest distance was 705 kilometres, which was the supercharger route on the far east there. And if I was paying my home rate for the power, that would have been $124. Now, it was a bit more than that, but I'll summarise that at the end. So that's the entire westward section. Now, next few days we're at the AEVA conference and expo, and that's been spoken about a lot, I think, so I won't go into that here. But it was where I met up with John, I met up with Clive, who had flown in, I picked him up from the airport, and the car basically sat in the car park at the Airbnb we were at, and I basically walked and moved it everywhere. So the car had a bit of a break.
That's Marcus and Helena from the Norwegian EV Association.
Yes.
And joined us for the workshop in Perth.
Yeah, they came from Norway and arrived in a Perth 35-degree day. So
after, was it 47 hours or something?
It must have had lots of weights between planes.
Yeah.
So I'll skip over those few days for now. But on the way back, my next Saturday morning park run location was at Cleve, which is not even marked on the map there, but it's where the right-hand blue arrow is. So I had 5 days to get there because the conference finished on Sunday. So I thought I'd cheat a bit and I would just go 200 Ks out of Perth just to get a bit of a head start. So this was a town, I forget the name, but it's that's another example of where I put in my future stops on the nav in the evening and then checked again the next morning just to see what the range was. So it says I would get to Southern Cross with 1%, and then I was on the next day it said 27%. So there was I was charging before then anyway. So even if Merritt was down, I could still get to Southern Cross comfortably. That's my plan. And again, the Western Australia EV network makes everything easy on this side of things. So, you know, only stop for 15 minutes or half an hour each time. Top right there shows another good pull through site. And back at the same caravan park at Norseman, bottom right there. Of course, being at the EV conference, I wasn't the only one doing that trip. And I happened to run into, this is Malcolm Street from ACT in his Cooper. I happened to run into him at almost every stop that I was at there. I thought we had staggered things so that we wouldn't inconvenience our charging, but apparently not. But he was just ahead of me, but he had usually finished most of the time.
You should use different phrasing. You didn't run into him.
Oh no, I spotted him, yes, from afar. Right, and we had to get the photo next to the sign there of Australia's longest straight road. As you do when you're on these trips. Again, I missed out on using the biofuel because he was there first, so that's right. So
And he needed it for quite a long time. They got to use it.
yeah, it usually takes a few goes to start up. Yeah, so I think they tried it about 5 times, and each time when it failed, they had to restart the tritium, and it took a bit of time. It is very manual. It's not designed for high volume usage. One person who I did happen to run into when I was, again, bad phrasing. One person who I saw at one of the stops overnight was a guy in a Synergy logo. Synergy is the West Australian power company who's installing the fast chargers in this area. And he was he'd been going along to these roadhouses in West Australia that don't yet have the chargers, scouting out the locations. And he said when he got to the one that I was at, he was there first. When I plugged in to charge, he saw that he was monitoring the usage of the entire site, and he saw it go from 20 kilowatts for the entire site to 40. So he thought, oh, someone's plugged in an EV, so came and introduced himself. They're planning to install fast chargers at all these other smaller roadhouses.
How are they powering?
The WA EV network ones are a combination of, I don't think which ones they are now. Some of the WA ones will have sort of solar arrays, and they'll be completely off-grid. Some of them will just plug into the existing roadhouse power, but I think they'll be fairly low powered.
I was thinking about the Synergy guy in particular. That's the power company.
Yeah.
So are they planning on putting in isolated sites?
Yeah, they also manage what's called SAPS systems, so standalone power systems, and that's when they install solar and battery in a microgrid somewhere. It's not connected to the main grid, but they sort of take responsibility for it. For a farm, for example, they might build it out and then charge the farmer normal retail rate for the power. So as far as the farm knows, you know, they're just a customer of the power company, but they build the entire system for them. This is the kind of view that you would wake up to when you're sleeping in the back of your car. So those are the more scenic ones. You can see where I keep my shoes, obviously, on the back there. Yeah, it is nice to wake up to that sort of view when you open your eyes.
So you didn't use blinds or anything like that?
No, I thought I knew that I had to leave early each morning, so I figured if the sun woke me up, that was probably okay. I just tried to go to bed early, which is a bit unusual for me because I'm normally up till midnight, but tried to get to bed at 9 PM most nights because I knew the sun would wake me up. I did hang towels over side windows if the camping ground had a floodlight, which was inconveniently located.
I use a night mask for that. That really helps.
I also had a night mask as well, just in case. It was unbearable.
Not much privacy if you were camping as a couple.
That's right. No, you wouldn't want to do that. And there's some of the sunrises that I mentioned that I'd seen. Yeah, there's one there on the bottom right where I promised I wasn't driving using a phone at all there. Pretty nice. The top right there was an Nullarbor roadhouse, and they had excellent 4G signal because the tower was right there. These are examples of the sort of local flavour that you get when you're at these remote places. Left one is just at a pub in Poochera in South Australia. Just your normal hub in a really small remote town, except there's a 3-phase socket and a sign advertising an EV charge point there. In the middle, that's Franco, who worked at the Madura Pass Hotel. He was mad keen about EVs and helping sort them out and things like that. Whenever you got there, you had to go and make a donation to the Flying Doctors, and then he'd wheel the charger out and things like that. He was, yeah, really supportive. The bottom right was another one where you had to take a photo of the charger and go back in and show them the photo, and they would then charge you $2 a kilowatt hour. That's the most expensive power that I used. And the receipt on the right there, can't really read it too clearly, but that's Nullarbor Roadhouse. There's a large coffee, ham and cheese croissant, and chef's special, which means EV charging. Normally it's $32, but he charged me $10 that time. So it was 32 on the way back, sadly. A lot of these are just flat rate charges, so you want to use as much as you can, but it's okay. And on the way back, the top right there is one of the chargers that was not working before. It was still not working, but the Onyx 6 was a guy from RIA who was activating it the next day. So I just missed that one. The bottom right is the temperature that my car was telling me while I was coming through South Australia. I was just driving further south and towards the coast as fast as I could, just to get away from just so I wouldn't have to leave the car. And the left one is on the coast in South Australia, where I think that was my first 150 kilowatt DC charger after going back the other way. So the blue arrow there shows what I had to do in 5 days, and I managed to do it. You can see in South Australia where I was travelling south at a very crazy rate there. But yeah, that was my biggest gap over the shortest number of days that I had to do, and 451 kilometres per day. That was easily done. You can see my top trip a little bit further apart than on the way across.
How was your run?
Oh, that particular one.
Yeah.
It wasn't 45 degrees.
Good.
No, I was actually lucky on the way west, Port Augusta and Kalgoorlie. They both apologised in general for the cold weather. To me perfectly. As you got two of my personal best times at Kalgoorlie and Port Augusta, you got those acclimatised better than the other people. And the last bit was, again, back onto the supercharger network, basically like playing on cheat mode. I took a few different routes just to see a few more sites, but basically it was just there's a few fast chargers there. The left-hand one is the Whaler Vet, which you might have heard of them. That was basically a vet who cares about the environment and was sick of the inaction, and so he installed a dual CCS fast charger at the vet clinic. He's got it's all undercover, as you can see. He's got a tyre pump there. It's got a little sign there saying what to do while you charge. It talks about local attractions and things like that. And it was just basically it's still a paid site, but in general, it's a community focused thing.
Whereabouts was that?
That was at Whaler. It's about a 5-minute walk from the new fast charger site that was opened up recently, but still, you might want to pick that site over the area. And again, superchargers everywhere, wasn't much of a challenge. Bottom left there is Port Fairy. There's an EV charger there. That was okay as well. But not much to say apart from the fact that it was a lot easier for that leg. And then back on the ferry, back home, a very familiar site on the right-hand side there. And the stats there are not much on the left. So 9,540 kilometres, 1,355 kilowatt hours in total. I could mention at the AEVA Expo, there's a competition that we actually started here in Tassie, which is the Glen George Trophy, which goes to the person who drove the furthest to get to the expo. I didn't win it.
Guy in the purple car again.
No. There was a Model 3 from Melbourne who drove the long way around.
Oh.
They drove up through Queensland, across Northern Territory, down the WA coast. The competition rules say it only counts the last 4 weeks, and even then he was already at the northeast part of the country at that point, Atherton or Queensland or something like that. So I came second. Well done. That's all right. Now some stats. I'm not expecting anyone to read the numbers, which is why I put the little orange graph there. So these are all the charging sessions I did, and the orange bar is the effective price per kilowatt for each of those. So you can see whether the remote ones cost a bit more, especially where it's a flat rate and you don't need that much, but it's a fixed amount. So you can kind of get a bit of an idea as to what's expensive, you know, what to avoid. I say what to avoid, often you can't avoid them, which is why they're expensive, but that's okay. Now I worked out, don't know if I included this on the next slide or not, no. I worked out about 1/3 of my total energy used was the free caravan park charging. So that worked out pretty well. It cost me, I think I'll do it later on. I'll go into detail there. This is just my kilometres per day on the middle orange graph there. So you can see the second day and the last couple of days were when I was on the superchargers, so they were a lot easier. On the right there, it's basically what I did each day. The purple days are ones where I was not really travelling much, so I was just visiting somewhere local. And the orange, the location for the orange background, I cropped in another one. That might have affected my efficiency, but you can see it was fairly consistent all the way through. Right, yeah, so that's the stats on my charging and all the costs. So yeah, the total actual cost, $766. And I worked out the average rates and things like that there. My efficiency, down the bottom, it gives you the example of a car that 7 litres per 100 kilometres. Don't know how typical that is, especially with all the utes and 4 drives that were doing the trip. And paying $2 a litre. Again, that's optimistic because at Melbourne Roadhouse it was $3 a litre. And yeah, similar high prices at other locations. That gives the comparative cost was almost double there. At some point, at some places, when I wasn't near the car, I was explaining what I was doing. I didn't mention that I was in an EV, so I did get all these tips like don't fill up at Nullarbor, fill up in other places, that sort of thing. At one place when I mentioned I was doing it in a Tesla, someone said, "Oh, you must have a lot of money then." And I looked at the row of new utes with giant caravans right next to me, which all cost 3 times the amount of my car. Thinking, well, these people, they got money.
They had money.
They had money.
That's right. Charles, to go across, there would have been those, slower charges, etc.
Yeah.
How long do we know until there'll be fast charges the whole route? That must be getting close.
Yep. There we go. That wasn't scripted, by the way.
No.
Yeah. So the top map is basically the route that I took and the charges that I used, and the green ones were the bottom map is basically how it looked basically a month after I got back. So you see there are a lot more green ones in West Australia and South Australia, the built up areas. There are some extra yellow dots across the Nullarbor, which were the ones that were mentioned earlier, I think, about the extra 23 kilowatt DC charges. And yeah, the orange is the AC charging options. You can now get from Perth to Nullarbor Roadhouse, which is basically the far right yellow dot, purely on DC charges. Then you can get to Ceduna, which is one of the red dots just to the right, which has an 11 kilowatt AC charger, which is the Tesla destination charger. And then it's just, green dots is just more fast DC all the way, all the rest of the way. So while I took that 3-phase outlet, you would not need it at all if you did the trip now. And it's only been 3 months. You'd probably still want to take one as a backup, but generally, you'll just leave it in the boot most of the time. And Ceduna itself will get a green, a green dot on that map. So you can effectively do that entire route with the DC chargers. Now, the West Australia ones also go up the coast. They're being built out now, but they go up as far as Kununurra, up right near the Northern Territory border. And of course, around the east coast, you can get from there all the way around, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, DC charges up to Cairns, or Townsville and Cairns. And also west from Townsville, there are DC charges as far as Mount Isa. So one of the people who was mentioned before, Harold, who did the trip in 10 days, then Pilot, once he reached Mount Isa, going clockwise, he used DC consistently all the way into Nullarbor Roadhouse. So it's at least 50% of the trip covered at that point.
Northern Territory is still a desert.
That's right. There are some being installed there at the moment in Catherine and near Tennant Creek, but yeah, still not much there now. In the future, both the AEVA network and NRMA will be installing fast charging sites across the Nullarbor Gap. So the bottom left is actually Harold's car next to the charger at Overlander Roadhouse, the northwest WA, and you can see the giant solar panel field in the bottom left. And the bottom right is the one that's installed in Northern Territory by NRMA, the junction of the road to Uluru from Alice Springs. So basically they'll all be covered eventually with systems similar to that. I think both of those might be 50 to 75 kilowatt DC charges. So it's not 150, but it's also a lot better than 11.
Yeah. I think that's a solar roof and it's got a diesel generator, but a battery is what is back.
That's it, yeah. Yeah, that's it's like their trial setup. They want to see what it's like. I've seen graphs of the usage of the various WA sites. It gives you like a time of day graph, and almost all the usage is aligned with solar generation. So people are travelling during the day; they're not really travelling in the evening, probably due to the large volumes of wildlife and things like that. So people don't travel at night because not advised, not good for your car. So those are the two sort of kind of specs that you might see in the future. But apart from that, not sure if I've missed anything, but any other questions?
Well, just how comfortable did you find it sleeping in the back of the car?
Well,
With
at the start of the trip, it's like I'm going on adventure for a month. At the end of the trip, it's like I've been living in my car for a month.
Yeah.
So, on the best nights, I probably might wake up once at about 2 a.m. and then go back to sleep. On the worst nights, you might wake up maybe 3-4 times. Once the hardest part was getting in and out of the back seat and lying down and getting everything set up. Once you're lying down, it's like if you've had a busy day in particular, it's fine falling asleep. It's fine with the climate control and everything on feeling comfortable. But yeah, of the entire 28-day trip, I think I actually spent 14 or 16 days sleeping in the car. So the other days were, the ferry, the accommodation in Perth, the 2 places where I had family nearby, so I stayed with them. I think there are another 5 or 6 places where I actually did stay in a motel because, I had a bad night the night before. So I wasn't sleeping there every single night, but it was, still quite an experience.
I think it's worth pointing out that what you say about it, the difficulty of getting in and out of the back, is because it's a sedan with a fixed parcel shelf, as opposed to the Model Y, where you could get out relatively easier, more easily.
Yeah. Most people who do the trip in that do this sort of style trip, they would have a Model Y or another EV that is a sedan or is a hatch or a wagon style boot. It's very it's a bit constricting, but it was one of the sort of things I had to do. It was one of the things I had to work with.
How did you manage the internal temperature of the car when you're driving? Did you use the air conditioner all the time, or did you have a window open?
I used it all the time.
So that would take
It would have been theory, but I didn't really notice a whole lot. I think heating would have been worse, so heating's the preferable option. And it was often very similar in the outdoor temperature was actually it was close to 25 degrees a lot of the time. There were a couple of times when it was a bit hotter, but yeah, a lot of the time it was a fairly comfortable temperature, so I didn't worry about it too much. Even that leg where I did 411 kilometres in one go, that was also 25 degrees AC on all the time. So I still managed to eke out that sort of range. I don't know how much weight I saved by taking the back seat out or not. I don't think it's that heavy, but there were a couple of things that I didn't take that some people do take, and that is some people have a fridge sort of in the under boot area. It's sort of wide into the car, so that effectively you're keeping everything cold all the time and it's running off the battery. So I didn't have that. One thing I did do that I found was a bit of a waste was I had a canister of water. We'll say crossing the Nullarbor, you take plenty of water. And I worked out that's more for if you're taking a car with a radiator and a family kind of thing. If it's just you, then a 2-litre bottle's fine. I didn't need the 20-litre one. I filled it up with water. I filled up about 3 litres of it in Tassie just to make sure the bung didn't leak, and I didn't touch it for the entire trip. So I just took some fresh Tassie water to Perth and back for no reason.
Just any mechanicals, or were you worried about tyres, potential blowout?
Oh, I didn't even mention tyres. That's one thing I had to do without, and that was a spare tyre. Lots of people do take one. The car doesn't come with one, but lots of people do take one.
Yeah.
If I did that, I couldn't have fitted everything else in and couldn't have done the trip. So it was a gamble I had to take, and fortunately it wasn't an issue. I did avoid gravel roads. Looking at that picture, did I? I tried to avoid gravel paths and driveways and as much as I could. There was one point where I was 6 k's away from the Hornsdale wind farm and big battery, and I thought I might go have a look, but with a 6k gravel road, I thought, don't want to see it that much if I blow a tyre. Having said that, I've driven on gravel roads with all my other cars and never blown tyres, but you don't want to risk it.
You mentioned in your prep stuff you had a tyre repair kit. Presumably your tyres are compatible with the tyre repair kit.
I presume they are.
Because
never had to find out.
A former colleague of mine got a Tesla 3 and he found out the hard way he couldn't use his tyre repair kit on it because of the acoustic foam inside the tyre.
Yeah.
Well,
There's acoustic foam inside the tyre to make the car quieter.
Well, that's a good tip for anyone else.
So it didn't come with the car. It's something you bought separately.
That's right. It was a model recommended on a few forums where people recommended that. So hopefully it was compatible, but I never had to find out.
Yeah. I think it's worth something that I've sort of been considering if I'm looking at cars and the different tyre options. Obviously, there's a whole range of tyres, but if they're EV specific tyres, they may well have acoustic foam. So,
Well, new Kona comes with a spare tyre, spare wheel.
So, no more questions?
Thank you, Charles. I think we're about to leave. I apologise to the Zoom members if we drop out suddenly, but I guess we might call the meeting over and invite you to join us for some drinks and some biscuits in the kitchen.